YouTube, what the crap's going on? Is your computer a shame for display? Do you wonder whether or not you can run Warhammer, or will you be able to run Warhammer 2? I'm going to give you a quick talk real quick just to kind of walk you through how to know whether or not your computer is going to be able to run Warhammer or Warhammer 2, or what kind of laptop or desktop that I would recommend if you want to play the Total War series, specifically the newer titles like Warhammer and Warhammer 2. So, if we go look at the system requirements for Warhammer 2 on Steam, they're not out yet. Well, let me tab over to my browser here, and we can see the system specs for Warhammer, and it's going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff, but let's just put it in simple terms. You can read all the stuff, or you can just hear me out here. If your processor's not 4 or 5 years old, or some type of horrible Celeron processor or something, your processor can likely handle things. So, you know, again, aside from like an Intel Atom or Celeron, you're probably good. If you have any kind of i5 or i7, you're gold. And probably even a lot of i3 processors would do just fine. Again, so if you're anywhere in that range, you're probably good to go on processors. So really the focus is on graphics cards. So I came over here to newegg.com. This is actually where I buy all my computer parts. They don't sponsor me or anything. I just like their website. Now I will tell you this. Right now is not the best time to build a computer. And the reason I say that is because graphics cards are absolutely through the roof right now from what they should be because of Bitcoin mining. It's driven the demand way up and the price is absurd. So it's not the best time to buy your own components to build a computer because graphics cards are super high. That'll change here soon. I mean, when things will lay off, and it's actually gotten a little bit better here for these GTX 1060s, but it's going to get better still if you wait a little while. Anyway, what I'm recommending if you want to run the Total War Warhammer games on high settings and get, you know, a solid, you know, probably 60 frames a second at 1080p resolution, which is HD, then I recommend something like this GTX 1060. I don't know why the screen won't load. Seriously, internet? Just load the screen. You can do it. Or don't. Alright, whatever. You can see the card right here. This is MSI's version. Other people make them. You can see EVGA, Zotac, all that, but I'm not going to talk about them because MSI is the one that sponsors me, so I'm going to talk about theirs. If you want to go look at other people's, feel free. I would recommend theirs. I'm using it. I used this GTX 1060 on the build I gave away. It works really good. So the GTX 1060 6GB version is the one that I would recommend. The 3GB version will work, and you can even use, if you wanted to go just a bit cheaper, there's another one called a 1050 Ti, and this one will probably work pretty decently as well. There's an MSI version of it somewhere around here. I don't have time to go dig it out. Here's one. But yeah, a 1050 Ti will probably do your job just fine as well. Okay, so if it has a 1050 Ti or 1060 and a decent processor, you probably need 8 gigs of RAM. It'll work. So a lot of times though, I get asked about laptops. It's like a lot of people want to have a laptop to play the games on. I'll tell you this much. Getting a laptop that can run Warhammer and run it well is going to cost you more than getting a desktop that does the same thing. However, a lot of people just like the portability and ability to move the laptop around. This one right now, this MSI GL62M, I'm actually asking MSI if I can review this one. I'm trying to get them to send it to me. This is a pretty good budget laptop, gaming laptop, that's going to give you pretty solid performance at 1080p on just about any game out there. It's got a nice i7 HQ processor here, the 7700 HQ, and then the 1050 Ti. If you want a little more power, you can always upgrade into the one that comes with the 1060. And then, of course, I'm using one that has a 1070, which is much more expensive. But I'm just saying that's kind of the realm you can go in. But anywhere starting down in here about this $1,000 price point with the 1050 Ti, that's a laptop that's going to do a good job of running Warhammer. It's not going to be on Ultra, and it's not going to be at 4K, and it's not going to be over 100 frames per second. But, you know, again, 1080p, 60 frames per second, you'll be gold. And 60 frames per second will depend a little bit on the graphics settings you choose, but it should run the game on high graphics settings, which you won't see a whole lot of difference between high and the way I play the game. Anyway, like I said, if you want to get Warhammer to run, GTX 1060 in your desktop will do the job very nicely. And this this right here, this laptop right here would do the job nicely. Or like I said, you can step into one of these ones like this Leopard Pro that's got, I think it has the right one. I've selected over here, it only should have 1060, 1070, that stuff. So you can see the prices go all over the place. And basically you just find the one that kind of mixes and matches and does the right stuff for you. Now I'm going to give you one other piece of advice here. I highly recommend you have a solid state drive for Total War games. It will increase the experience in game a ton by making the loading times much shorter. It's not a requirement to run the game, but I would highly recommend it. So solid state drive. You can tell if something has a solid state drive when you're reading through the specs. It will usually tell you whenever you go in. Like for instance, if we click on this one, hopefully my internet's going to be nice and load for me. Boy, I don't know what's going on tonight, what the deal is. In any case, yeah, solid state drive. It'll tell you on the specs whether or not it'll say SSD. So if it has an SSD, then you're going to be gold. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Like I said, these are the MSI laptops that came up first. And like I said, this GL62M is a pretty good deal right now for one that's going to do a pretty nice job. And it's not cheap. I would say it's not going to break the bank, but for a lot of you, yes, this would break the bank. You know, I was in college not that long ago. I didn't have any money. I now have a full-time job for which I'm grateful. But yes, this would be expensive, but I'm just saying that's what it would take, I think, to get you into the budget range for a laptop. And then a desktop, you can probably find one for cheaper, and this 1050 Ti or 1060 option would be the way to go. So hopefully that gives you all the right direction. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Happy to try and point you in the right direction. Like I said, I am working with MSI. I'm going to be able to get them to send me some different hardware to review before the launch of Warhammer 2 to show you how well it's going to run Warhammer and hopefully give you guys more idea if you're interested in getting your own machine to play those games. Hope you enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out. I will see you soon.